The diner had always been a place of warmth, the kind of spot where sunlight poured through spotless windows, where the smell of coffee and pancakes felt like a quiet promise that the world still had good in it. But that morning, the silence in the red vinyl booths shattered like glass. The moment that changed everything for Claire began with laughter, cruel, sharp laughter that cut through her heart. 3 men stood before her, their laughter echoing in the bright open diner, their shadows spilling across her plate of hale breakfast. The lead one, broad and shaven, eyes dark with arrogance, reached forward, gripping the front of her blouse with both hands. The sudden rip of fabric was louder than the music humming faintly from the jukebox. Claire froze, her breath catching in her throat as she tried to hold the torn pieces together, trembling. She wasn't a stranger to fear, but this was humiliation painted across daylight. The kind that made every heartbeat feel like a bruise. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in standing up for what's right, even when no one else does, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Because sometimes the smallest act of courage can change everything. The bullies laughed louder when they saw the tears welling in her eyes. One of them, wearing a black leather jacket, leaned forward, his grin wide and cruel. Another slapped the table, sending her teacup rolling off the edge, spilling amber liquid across the polished floor. The air was thick with mockery and the sour scent of spilled tea. No one in the diner dared move. A few customers looked away, their guilt heavy, but their fear heavier. Claire sat there, small and silent, clutching her torn shirt with shaking hands, praying for this moment to end. She wasn't just a random girl in a diner. She was someone's sister. She was the sister of someone who had once been feared, respected, and quietly misunderstood. Her brother, Mason, had always told her to be strong, to never let the world break her. But he wasn't here. He was supposed to be hundreds of miles away on the road with his club, the Hells Angels. She never thought that his name would one day mean more than just protection, that it would be the line between despair and redemption. As the bullies jarred, something shifted. The sound of the diner door opening carried a heavy presence with it. The subtle chime of the bell followed by slow deliberate footsteps. Claire didn't look up right away, but everyone else did. Conversations halted. Forks hovered in midair. Sunlight poured in through the open doorway, framing 2 figures in leather vests marked with the unmistakable wings of the Hells Angels. The lead man's beard was stray with gray, his eyes steady and sharp. And beside him walked a large bald man with a long, dark beard, both wearing the same black patches, the same aura of quiet power. They weren't rushing. They weren't shouting. They were just walking, calmly, purposefully, their eyes locked on the scene unfolding in front of them. The 3 bullies standing over a trembling woman with a torn shirt. And then, as if time paused, the lead biker's gaze met hers. His face softened, a flicker of disbelief, then fire. Mason had never been a man of many words, but there was something about his silence that could shake the ground beneath people. He had spent years trying to protect his little sister from a world he knew too well, a world that took advantage of the kind, that mocked the gentle. But fate had strange ways of bringing people together again. And that morning, he walked in at the exact moment she needed him most. The bullies turned when they noticed the shift in the diner's air. They saw the patches. Their laughter died. The main one's grin faltered, replaced by a twitch of uncertainty. He released his grip on Claire's blouse, stepping back a little, his hands shaking without meaning to. One of his friends whispered something about getting out, but it was too late. Mason's steps were slow but deliberate, his boots echoing against the tiled floor. The large bald biker stayed behind him, folding his arms, his expression unreadable. Mason didn't need to say anything. His eyes said enough. The bullies felt it, the kind of quiet that carried the weight of storms. They stumbled over words, excuses spilling out, something about a misunderstanding, but the truth was already written in their faces. When Mason finally reached them, he didn't touch them. He simply stood there towering, his eyes cutting straight through their guilt. The one who had torn Claire's blouse lowered his head, shame flooding his expression like a tide. The diner stayed silent, the kind of silence that grows when justice finally takes its breath. Mason turned to his sister, his voice low but steady as he told her to stand up, to come with him. She hesitated, still shaking, her eyes meeting his. And in that moment, something inside her broke, not from pain, but from relief. She had spent years thinking strength meant never needing anyone. But now she realized that love, especially the kind that protects you, was strength, too. Mason draped his leather jacket over her shoulders, shielding her from every staring eye, every whisper that dared to follow. He didn't need to fight. He didn't need to shout. His presence alone reminded everyone that kindness and protection could exist even in the toughest of hearts. When they stepped outside, the wind was cold and pure, carrying the smell of mountains and freedom. The world looked different, brighter somehow. Even after what had happened, the bullies remained inside, silent, small, their laughter buried under the weight of their choices. Claire turned back once, her eyes still glistening. But this time, there was strength behind them. The kind of strength that comes from pain survived and love proven. They walked toward Mason's motorcycle, its chrome gleaming under the sun. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Not because of who her brother was, but because of what he stood for. He wasn't just a biker. He was her family, her guardian, her proof that even in a world filled with cruelty, there were people who would still stand up for what's right. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. We believe in the power of love, loyalty, and second chances, because sometimes kindness comes riding in when the world least expects it. Before the ending, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you saw this happen? Would you step forward or stay silent? As Mason handed his helmet to his sister and started the bike, the sun reflected in her eyes. The sound of the engine roared to life, not in anger, but in quiet triumph. And as they rode off down the mountain road, the world around them seemed to whisper a truth older than time itself. You don't have to be feared to be strong. You just have to care enough to stand up when no one else does.